If you can tell us about the process. So if somebody wants to rebuild and if they don't make any changes, so you have to go to different departments getting approval from, touch a lot of different departments to get approval, right?
In the traditional process, and I think our recommendation would be that if the intent is to build what was there before, and that the architect is willing to certify that it will be built to code, that a permit should be approved over the counter within a matter of days, not months, but days. If there are drawings that are there that the city has, that owner's architect and builder could work from, it will just speed up the process dramatically. If the owner were to build or to hire an architect and to start drawings from scratch, that process also takes many, many months. It's all about just removing months of time to actually get these homes going. And that's not to say to build it exactly the way it was. Maybe there are some improvements that we want to make. Perhaps we might want to consider sprinklers on the outside of the building, or a cistern or a water tank under the house that when fire conditions become imminent, that instead of putting all the pressure on the public water system, if these homes had water tanks, potentially the water could be pumped from those tanks to help wet the area on the house or in the area, so in the future we don't have such a calamity like we've had the last week.
In a normal process, if there is no expediting, it takes, you mentioned it takes a year to do the permitting, and how long does it take for the construction?
Well, construction can take another year to 2 years depending on the complexity of the home. And you also have to accommodate time for the architect to create the drawings, which takes 6 to 9 months to a year as well. So all of a sudden, in a traditional sense, it can take several, 2 to 3 years plus to just start the construction of a home. And I think one of the questions I have with the governor's directive about eliminating CEQA and the coastal is that it's only valid for a year. And that's not enough time for many folks. Think about if you lose your home, it might take you several months or half a year just to get reestablished, to find a home, a temporary place to live, to continue working, to decide if I want to rebuild or if I want to leave. And then to start that process in the traditional sense will take many years, and the governor's directive, which is very positive first step, I hope will be extended for many years to.
And the insurance may not reimburse that fast, right?
Well, that depends on each insurance company, and many of the homes may not be insured to the level that's required to rebuild. It might be, some folks may have insurance that's a reimbursement at $400 per square foot. Well, many homes now cost $1,000 a square foot to build, so who's going to pay for that difference? There's a lot of decisions outside of I just want to build another house back where I was. There's a lot of decisions that take time to sort through for these owners to really decide how they want to proceed. And I think this idea of just making it easier, not impacting the health, safety, and welfare of a community or of a resident, but there is a lot of bureaucracy and red tape that we can cut through to expedite.
Some people have been saying that the Coastal Commission may not permit these homes to be built, but with governor's new directive, this is going away, right?
It appears that way. The proof will be in the first few homes that apply to be rebuilt, and I think these first few homes that do go through the approval process should be scrutinized closely, not to put blame on any decisions, but to further refine the process and improve it so that we can approve things even quicker over time.
Now, in terms of, you mentioned the architect would certify. Can you explain how does that work?
So the architect would actually sign a form that certifies that the building complies with current codes. And I've actually done this a number of times in the city of Bellflower. The certification process is not unusual in this country. It's allowed in New York City, it's allowed in Chicago, in Phoenix, in Bellflower, of all places in Southern California. And I've actually certified 3 projects there. One was an outdoor urban eatery that took about 15,000 square feet. Another project was the adaptive reuse of an old department store that we converted into creative offices, and that was about 40,000 square feet, and then also a development or a project for the city itself, a homeless shelter that houses 50 folks, gets them off the street and lives in the shelter. So it was a process I was very comfortable with. It was a very collaborative process with the city, but essentially we had a very brief planning review, and then we completely cut out the permitting process completely. And the city still, during construction, came out and reviewed the work as it was proceeding to make sure that it was code compliant. It was a very positive direction. Again, this mindset of collaborating and being partners and not fighting each other is very important. And I would be happy to, again, certify projects that I have knowledge about and feel comfortable that they are compliant.
And do you think other architects would do the same for this rebuilding? Because these are the projects that are somebody else.
Absolutely. I think it'll be on an individual basis. I think there will be a lot of architects that would be willing to do that. Again, I don't think it needs to be a requirement. I think it's a choice. And if an owner wants to go the traditional route and have the city review the projects, that's absolutely fine. They just have to understand it will take longer. And this just becomes another tool in the toolkit for a homeowner to decide, I want to go this route because I'd like to expedite it. And
how much faster will it be if the architects would actually certify instead of the city?
I think it could be close to a year.
So that's something that LA should seriously consider because this could help expedite.
I think so. I absolutely think so. I think the other item too associated with it is, as I mentioned earlier, the fees. Since there is no permit review, I think those fees should be waived. There could be a fee for reviewing on-site inspections, but that fee could be cut down dramatically by 85–90%. So that would be another way of helping these homeowners in terms of moving forward faster and saving money.
So your recommendation and your organization, Association of Architects, you guys are thinking this is the best way in this scenario to actually maybe to do the big heavy lifting when the building is happening. Maybe the government, the city can come and inspect it, but during the planning phase, you guys do the work because you're already on the hook, right?
Right. We are the experts, and we did take a vow of when we became architects to make sure that the health, safety, and welfare of the occupants in the community are taken into account. And as I work on buildings, I always look at what our client wants, and I always want to create beautiful buildings and functional buildings, but at the same time, safety is always the #1 priority for all of us.